All right, welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you've ever spent hours meticulously researching a bet, only to watch it literally go up in flames in the first 5 minutes of a match, yeah, this one is absolutely for you. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating breakdown of live sports betting data based on the InPlay IQ Blueprint. For any focused learner out there who just loves systems and data, this is going to be incredibly insightful. We're exploring a specific methodology that argues against traditional pre-match guessing. Instead, it introduces the concept of trading sports based entirely on real-time, in-game data. It's all about shifting from a static mindset to a much more dynamic, reactive one. So, let's dive right in.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to uncover the pre-match trap, then jump into the three pillars of the InPlay IQ system: goal drift, the safety net, and Asian corners, before wrapping up with the overall system philosophy.
Starting with Section 1, the pre-match trap. Let's look at why guessing just doesn't work.
So, picture this. Why do heavy favorites completely ruin carefully researched tickets? You know the drill. You might spend 3 hours analyzing stats on platforms like FlashScore. You check specific league filters, maybe for the Bundesliga, and you verify historical data like the classic 70% scoring rule. On paper, everything points to an easy win. But relying solely on that pre-match foundation actually leaves you completely vulnerable the second the game begins.
And that brings us to the core anomaly in football: the massive gap between pre-match expectations and live reality. Think about it. Your pre-match analysis is really just a blueprint. But what happens if, within the first 10 minutes, a star striker limps off the field? Or what if an unexpected rainy pitch completely turns what was supposed to be this high-scoring goal fest into a cagey, defensive, tactical battle? If you aren't actively adjusting to these live variables, you're essentially betting with one eye closed. This amateur mistake right here is what the blueprint defines as the 190 odds trap. It happens when someone chases perceived value based on pre-match statistics that simply do not exist anymore once the whistle blows and the game dynamics actually shift. The philosophy here is simple but super powerful. Stop guessing and start reacting to real-time data to find what they call equal firing power.
All right, moving on to Section 2. Pillar 1, goal drift. It's all about timing the sweet spot.
So how does this actually build our understanding of live markets? Well, the first pillar focuses on tracking first and second half goals using a really cool concept called the drift. Now, the drift isn't just about picking teams that historically score a lot of goals. It is a highly strategic process and involves taking that 70% scoring rule we just mentioned, but applying it strictly to live momentum. You basically wait for the odds to improve as the match clock takes away, but, and this is key, only when the live in-game data confirms that a goal is highly imminent.
Let's actually watch how the drift plays out in real time for the over 0.5 first-half goals market. In the very first minute, the odds sit at a super low 1.30. By the 10th minute, if live data shows a team maintaining high pressure but they haven't scored yet, the system keeps tracking. Then, as the clock hits the 20th minute and the game is somehow still scoreless despite heavy pressure, the odds naturally escalate. They skyrocket right into this ideal mathematical window.
And that window? That is the sweet spot. Specifically, we're talking about odds between 1.60 and 1.90. The InPlay IQ system waits precisely for this mathematical threshold. When a team maintains intense live pressure, but the odds finally drift into this 1.60 to 1.90 range by the 20th minute, the system automates a real-time alert and pings your phone. This completely removes that emotional urge to force a bet early. Instead, you're relying entirely on hitting a specific numerical threshold.
Now, this exact same logic applies to second half goals too, using a neat protocol called the halftime hustle. The steps are incredibly structured. Step 1, you monitor the games for a 0-0 scoreline at halftime. Step 2, you track the live data to see if a very specific mathematical metric, dangerous attacks, is just exploding. Step 3, if those strict conditions are met, the system triggers the halftime hustle alert. It's really a disciplined waiting game, right? You're letting the math hit the threshold instead of just hoping a team decides to show up. Okay, Section 3, Pillar 2, the safety net. This is all about protecting your bankroll.
What we're looking at here is the system's AI Blueprint decision matrix. It's powered by tools like 4bet and mutating.com to analyze match conditions and actually suggest market pivots. Take a look at the first row. Say a heavy favorite like Manchester City is dominating possession but totally lacks a clinical finish. Well, the AI Blueprint notes a low conversion rate and actually advises pivoting away from a favorite win. Or check out the second row. If a match sits at a tense 1-1 scoreline at the 60th minute, betting on a favorite win might be way too risky. But if the AI blueprint identifies an explosive BTTS, meaning both teams to score, profile, it suggests pivoting over to the over 2.5 goals market instead. It literally tells you exactly which way to lean based purely on the data.
Now, driving this entire decision matrix is a concept they heavily highlight, the 97% win filter. This number basically represents the absolute mathematical rigor the system claims to apply to find statistical certainties. By utilizing these incredibly stringent data filters, the goal is to make sure bettors don't get caught in a sudden odds drift that ends up killing their ticket. Ultimately, it all comes down to maintaining extreme discipline.
Let's jump into Section 4, Pillar 3, Asian corners. This is definitely the pro's choice.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the stark difference between these two markets. The source warns that standard total corner markets are essentially a trap because they carry exact number risk. Think about it. If you need over 9 corners and there are exactly 9, you lose. Asian corners, on the other hand, offer the push option. If the line is set at 9.0 and the game finishes with exactly 9 corners, your initial stake is completely refunded. It's this built-in mathematical safety valve that provides a massive sense of relief during those crazy tight finishes.
So the system actually hunts for value in the Asian corner market by tracking something called game state. It looks for very specific triggers to find a literal gold mine. It scans for situations where a home favorite is unexpectedly losing 1-0 around the 70th minute. Naturally, that team is going to be desperately camped out in the opposition's penalty box trying to equalize, right? The system then layers on league-specific data, filtering for high-crossing leagues, places like the Bundesliga or Singaporean leagues. When the Asian corner line drops to a point that bookmakers haven't properly adjusted for in real time, boom, the system triggers. It's highly specific, entirely situational, and driven completely by live game state pressure.
Bringing us to Section 5, the InPlay system, community and philosophy.
So, InPlay IQ operates as a specialized Telegram channel, and it offers a whole suite of specific tools for its community. Members get automated real-time first-half and second-half goal alerts based on the drift. They get those data-backed pivots for favorite wins and over 2.5 goals we talked about. They also receive professional-grade Asian corner signals based on game state. But honestly, most importantly, the community provides the structure and discipline required to avoid common amateur pitfalls, things categorized as injury traps and 1.25 anomalies that typically just drain accounts.
By strictly sticking to these data-driven tools and, completely avoiding emotional betting, the host of the source material claims to maintain an 85% consistency rate, factoring in a 15% variance. This metric is really presented to underline their core argument that structured math and real-time reaction can systematically and consistently outperform pre-match guessing.
Which perfectly leads us into the concluding mantra of the source material. Betting is a marathon, not a sprint. The fundamental takeaway here is all about mindset. The blueprint encourages its followers to stop treating live markets like a weekend gamble and start treating the activity systematically, much like running a data-driven business. It requires patience, strict adherence to filters, and highly responsible bankroll management over the long haul.
And that leads us with one final, kind of provocative question based on everything we've unpacked today. I want you to look at your own approach to analyzing these markets. Take a breath and ask yourself, are you still guessing pre-match? Or are you truly ready to let live data drive your decisions? It's a fascinating paradigm shift in sports analysis, and hopefully this explainer has given you a much clearer, more structured understanding of how live in-play data systems actually function.